One of the rarest comic books in the entire world has surfaced right here in our country, in Victoria, British Columbia, of all places. The first edition of a Spider-Man comic book, and here it is. Amazing Fantasy number 15 was printed back in 1962, considered to be the third most valuable comic book in the world. It's currently being kept in a safe deposit box while employees at a Victoria comic book store, Legends Comics and Books, help the owner find a buyer. But we have got Gareth Gaudin joining us here. He is the owner of the comic book store in question, and he's got the comic book in his hands. Thanks for coming on, Gareth. Show it to our viewers if you can. How valuable is it?
It's the most valuable comic I've ever held in my hands. The really nice ones are going for well over $1 million US, and this one is the nicest I've seen. It's in a gorgeous condition.
And what's the story with how you got it, or how this collector came to you, this woman who owned it, and brought it to you to try to get some help? How did that happen?
I've been in the store for 25 years in the same location, and over the years I've met a lot of collectors, and I've appraised comics over the course of people's lives. They've come in with things, and I've told them what they're worth, and if it's a good time to sell or a bad time to sell. And this comic has come in a few times, and it's never been the right time to sell, because I've been watching the market, and it's been kind of skyrocketing as of late. Even next year, it'll be worth a lot more than this. So we're just kind of considering it now and looking at our options. But I didn't expect this much press, so it's really nice to be on your show, Todd.
In layman's terms, why is now a good time for a Spider-Man comic to sell?
Well, in the world of comic books, they've been collected since the early days. In the 50s, there were a lot of comic collectors, but it wasn't until 1970 the Overstreet Price Guide came out, and once there was an official guide, people knew that comics had a value. So like the first Superman and the first Batman were always the things everyone wanted. But Spider-Man being like such an icon, and he's been surviving in films and cartoons and TV for decades, his first appearance has been kind of sought after as well. And right now, it just seems like it's old enough and valuable enough. And not only are comic book collectors after this book, but the rest of the world as well. So you've got investors from outside of the small, relatively small comic book circles. You've got Hollywood actors, you've got producers looking for this.
You're holding it very gingerly. I mean, how fragile is that comic book, Gareth?
Well, if it was in beat-up condition, it'd be really fragile, but this one is gorgeous. It's like it just came off the printer, so I could probably read it in front of you, and it would hold up just fine. It's not mine. It's worth a lot of money. I'm certainly not going to attempt to destroy it or wriggle it too much.
You know, I have had the opportunity, as I was saying in the commercial break, to be at your store on different trips to Victoria, and you've got a great operation there on Johnson Street. I got to ask you, who do you think might buy this comic book, Gareth?
I have no idea. Whoever wants it. There's got to be a lot of people out there who have money that they spend on art. This is kind of like a pop art print. So if you're going to buy a Warhol for $12 million, why not buy a Stanley, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby joint? This is it's a piece of art. It should be framed. It should be on a wall where a lot of people see it. I like the idea of a hip young corporation buying it, putting it in their lobby. I like the idea of an art collector or somebody who has a gallery or a museum, maybe, to put it up. Yeah, it just should be seen. I don't like the idea that it just gets put in a box and buried and forgotten.
Considering how much money it's worth, I mean, are you holding it in a safe? I gather security's got to be high.
Yeah, we're keeping it in a bank because, you know, with this much publicity, we really shouldn't have it floating around. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to put it back in the bank, and where it's safe until the next time I need to bring it out. I've had quite a few offers so far, and we'll see what happens next.
Great to have you with us, Gareth. Thank you so much for making time for CTV, and best of luck with the sale. We'll be following.
Thank you so much. See you next time you're in town, Todd. Thank you.
Absolutely.